I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, August the 23rd, brought to you in part by Wettest Corporation. Wettest Corporation provides livestock producers with excellence in animal health. For more information, go to y-tex.com. Blessed rain, especially down here in Texas, but all through the Southwest and the Western Corn Belt and many areas. People have been praying for rain all summer long, at least that long, and the Lord provided with that rain, and we are getting buckets of it. And you know, I saw noted on several articles that Dallas-Fort Worth area, which they call North Texas, but if you're not from Texas, you would think that the Texas Panhandle is North Texas, but they actually call that North Texas over there, which a normal person would think that was Northeast Texas. But North Texas, the greater Dallas-Fort Worth area, received a whole summer's worth of rain in about 3 days. And so we saw all kinds of records being broken. Fort Worth had the second all-time 24-hour total at 9.19 inches. That was the second largest. DFW Airport recorded the wettest August ever on record, actually the second wettest, so that was 10.08 inches for the month of August, and we're still in August, so I'm sure we're probably going to break that record. But man, it's great to see that rain. They are starting to get some rain and forecasted to get a lot of rain in the south central Texas areas, around San Antonio, Austin. I mean, it has been terribly dry down there. People like to float the Guadalupe River down there. That thing has went bone dry and completely quit running in many spots along there. And they are getting some rain in that area, expected to get more rain this week. Houston area is going to get rain. East Texas is going to get rain. West Texas has had rain. Texas Panhandle has had good rain. Standing water everywhere around the Texas Panhandle. I mean, it's fantastic. But one thing that kind of bothered me about that is they were talking about what devastation it is. Yes, in areas where there's nothing but concrete, when you get big rains, it's going to stack up, and it's going to flood in some spots. And people that are foolish enough to drive into deep standing water, sometimes they get swept away, and sometimes their car stalls and it gets put on the news. But you're not seeing anybody complain about that when you get off the blacktop there. That's exactly what we were needing, is running water. Big rain with running water to fill ponds and lakes and creeks and cattle waters and just everything that goes with it. Desperately, we're needing that. That is exactly what we were needing. And then some of this this nationwide media, you know, like they always kind of skew things. They were trying to blame these big rains on global warming. Now, maybe the globe is warming up every few years by tenths of degrees, but that is normal to have big rains. You know, God usually smooths things out. You hadn't had any rain for a long time, you're going to get a lot of rain and catch up. That's where you come up with your averages, and your averages are very trustworthy if you go back over time. So we had a big rain. Yeah, and so that big rain in a 24-hour period in Fort Worth was the second all-time biggest rain we ever had, going back to the biggest, which was in 1932. Did we have a lot of global warming fears in 1932? Were cows farting at a bigger degree and belching in 1932 and ruining our ozone layer and all that kind of thing? We didn't even have commercial cattle feeding at that time. People weren't worried about that thing at that time. DFW's wettest August ever on record, just over 10 inches, was the second wettest so far, going back to 1915, which was the wettest. Very few people had cars back in those days. you know, I don't know where all this comes from, but it just aggravates me, and I feel like maybe some of you other people there, it aggravates too, because you're reading, you know, news that's supposed to be reported, you know, kind of third-party, unbiased news there, supposed to be reporting in fact, and they're always trying to steer you in a certain direction. So, you know, so we had a big August rain there, and a lot of it come at once. Biggest since 1915. Okay, what was the third biggest? 1914. Now, I'm not sure how bad the global warming was back then, but I don't know. They've failed to teach me that, and I think that we're pretty arrogant as little ants down here running around on this planet that is spinning like a top, and we can't even feel it, to say that we are making that big of an effect on the world. But you guys think what you want to about that, but that's just my editorial, and that's what the feeder flash is what I want to talk about. So that was interesting, but we are getting a lot of rain, guys, and it's good rain, it's running water rain. It's going to help save things. There's some areas probably up in that North Texas area that could get a little grass regrowth in there and help some producers out. You get down there in the rocks in hill country of Texas, I'm not sure that it's going to do much help there, and it's sure not going to help the short hay situation that we've got going on, for sure. But anyways, just gave you guys an update on the moisture situation in West Texas, up here in the Panhandle, and going over into Oklahoma and like up into Kansas. It was absolutely perfect. We did not have big running water rains, big washouts like that. We had slow 24-hour drizzles and things like that that are absolutely perfect right as folks get ready to sow their wheat. So, you know, guys are already ahead of the game when sowing their wheat. They'll get started doing that here as soon as that kind of things kind of dry out. They try to get that wheat in right before or right during Labor Day. So they'll get that in. If we'd happen to get another rain, man, we're on our way to some really cheap grazing there come later on this fall. But on Monday, we had a mild response to the cattle on feed report, kind of like we talked about on our last visit. Your board was down a little bit heavier earlier, and then it come back, and then it was higher in some nearby months, and then it closed off just a little bit, but was not a big deal. And the only big reaction that we saw on Monday was at the Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City. And that is our nation's feeder cattle market. It's the biggest market, auction market in the nation also, but it is heavily dependent on corporate feeder buying. And that nothing wrong with that. That's who kind of goes in there and does that. Of course, they've got a lot of other buyers too, but it was a rough day in Oklahoma City. They called the feeder steers $4 to $8 lower. We didn't see that anywhere else, and I think that was mostly due because your corporate feeders are wanting to rein this market in. We realize we've got a runaway train right here. They're going to take every opportunity to rein this market in, and they will look to each other and kind of wink and agree to try to do that, even though they still are hungry for cattle. But you get up north and you get into places where we have more farmer feeders, and there was none of that going on. It was still just as wild as it's been here for the last 6 weeks or so. But we're going to see our northern feeders, especially our farmer feeders, start backing off of our southern plains cattle, and especially our southeastern cattle, because we're just those cattle, you know, they'll still take cattle a lot of times up till Labor Day, because those cattle are going to start to get cold during the feeding period, and they don't have enough hair. They will grow some hair, but a lot of those cattle that are thin-haired are also thin-skinned. And as good as they feed when it's really hot, your northern feeders don't really want them whenever it gets really cold, because they're miserable up there, and they do better down in the southern plains. And so your southern plains corporates will get really tickled about those guys backing off of those, and they can buy those at a discount, and we're going to see a wider disparage between our northern type cattle and our southern type cattle, and that's the reason why. But You want to look where some premiums were paid. You look at Superior Livestock Auctions Bighorn Classic that they've got going on this week up in Sheridan, Wyoming. And you look at the Guitar Ranches. That's down in Hamlin, Texas, down there in been really dry country like what we've been talking about. But they had some cattle there. They were Angus cross cows. But they had all the bells and whistles. I mean, verified natural, NHTC, GAP, everything, every bell and whistle you can put on them. They split them in two bunches at 148 head. They split the first half of them into all black with a base weight of 675 pounds for September delivery. Bring $2.10 a pound. And then the blacks and reds off of them, the balance of the cattle, same weight, bring $2 a pound. And that's definitely a pretty big premium that you're seeing on some of those program cattle. Let's talk about your board. On Monday to start the week, August live cattle futures were down 37 cents at 141.22. August down 75 cents at 144.50. Back months were mixed from down 45 cents to up 32. Feeder cattle, August was down a dime at 181.40. September down 40 cents at 184.35, and your back months on feeder cattle were down 30 cents to up 30 cents. So like I said, very mild response to the larger placement numbers we saw in the cattle on feed report. Grains, corn was up 5 3/4 cents for the day's trade, settling regular trading at $6.29 a bushel. Beans were up 31 1/4 cents, settling at $14.35 1/4. The weighted average on last week's negotiated fed cattle trade out of your 5-area feeding region saw 84,000 head sell within the 5-area. That compares with 86,300 last week and 78,200 same week a year ago. Live sales of steers and heifers ranged 138 to 151. Now that's $2 higher. Pretty wide range there, and I don't know that we should really be reporting it that wide. There was only 142 head that sold at 138, and then the next lowest was 140.5. So shouldn't be pulled down that far. But I like the top side. There was 1,437 head that sold at 151. But you look at your weighted average price on live steers, 146.88. And that was $2.50 higher than the previous week's weighted average, and a record steer weighted average going back to 2015. Talk about our dress market. It ranged from $2.26 to $2.39. That's $1 lower to $3 higher, but only 65 head sold at $2.26. 385 head sell at $2.39. Most of them right in there, $2.34, $2.35. Our dress steer weighted average was $234.23, and that was up $4.30 compared to the previous week. Big time gains on dress sales right there. Nationwide feedlot sales last week, 101,600 head. So we've gotten so thin now that we think 100,000 pure negotiated is kind of active, robust trade, and so we did. More trade, higher prices, more trade. That's the way that kind of goes. 31% of those are for the 15 to 30 day delivery, so that's pretty typical there. But negotiated grid sales, 52,100. Forward contract sales, 57,200. Formula sales, 282,700 head. Monday, they did sell a few loads finished cattle direct in the country, fat cattle at 149. So that's pretty aggressive. So if somebody wanted to take that, that's about what they could have got late last week. No big deal there. Box beef cutout values were higher to start the week, but not a lot higher. Choice cuts 264.52, up just 24 cents. Selects up 42 cents at 238.36. Talk about what else is going on. Beaver County Stockyards is going to have a really good sale here on Tuesday. They've got about 2,800 head. They've got 200 head string of cows coming off one place. Be running ages from 3 to 8 years old. Sure be the kind you could sort through and take a lot of those back. told to be really good quality cows there. He's going to have 7 loads of black steers weighing from 8 to 950, being a yearling off grass condition there. He's got 3 more loads of heifers from one owner there coming in. Going to have a really good sale. Beaver County Stockyards. If you can't make the sale, get a hold of somebody there. You can watch it on dvauction.com. If you want to bid over dvauction.com, give them a call before the sale and tell them that you're interested in doing that and get approved. But they don't dilly-dally around there. They'll be going by 8 o'clock, guys. Talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV Auction. 181.71 at the end of the day on Monday. That was up another 22 cents. So even though Oklahoma City was lower, cattle were still selling very well around. Check out some sales that's going to be happening here on Tuesday. Some other sales. North Platte Stockyards, now owned by the guys from Ogallala. They've come over and took over ownership of that. They've got a pretty good sale slated for you, several big consignments there, so you can check out that sale. Also, check out the Abington feeder cattle sale in Virginia. Virginia Cattlemen's Association's sales agent, Butch Foster, my good buddy there, he's having another one of those tele-auctions. They're on DV Auction also, of course. They've got about 25 loads of calves. You guys scared of these calves? They've got as good a cattle in Virginia as they have anywhere. They're northern quality cattle, and all of these cattle will, and at times they may put 2 owners' cattle together, but they're not really, I would say, commingled type cattle. But all of the cattle will be long time weaned, vaccinated, have everything done. You'll love the quality on them. You'll love the health on them. They've got 25 loads of calves on there and about 3 loads of grass yearlings there. Talk about your big sales on Monday. Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City, 7,500 head there. Feeder steers, like I said earlier, $4 to $8 lower. Feeder heifers steady to $4 lower. Calves were steady to $4 lower. Go up I-44 there, not too far. Joplin Regional Stockyards had a light run, 4,300 head there, like nothing ever happened. Feeder steers $4 to $7 higher. Feeder heifers $3 to $6 higher. You go up in the northern plains, and it's just the same degree of wild as we've gained every sale day for the past several weeks here. Faith Livestock Auction in Faith, South Dakota. You don't see that reported anywhere but here. 3,300 head, and that's your Wettest stick-out sale of the day, was Faith, South Dakota. Look at this automated marker report out of Faith, and you see the best tested weights there. You see 536 out of 8-weight steers. 8-weight steers, all of them, averaged 842 with a weighted average price of $189.93. Wow. 421 head of the 9-weight steers in Faith averaged $955 with a weighted average price of $180.74. Look at the heifers. 400 head of heifers in the 7-weight category averaged $772 with a weighted average price of $183.75. 666 head of 8-weight heifers averaged $852 with a weighted average price of $180.47. Almost your real-time index on heifers, 50 pounds heavier than the base weight there for that. 614 out of 9-weight heifers in Faith averaged $928 at $175.06. Big time sale in Faith, South Dakota. A couple individual quotes. How about Tri-State Livestock, McCook, Nebraska, 50 head, 360 pound steers bring $281. And then big barbecue sale there, John Shaban and Company at West Point Livestock, West Point, Nebraska, 3,600 head for them, big time sale. And they had the Macrocin No BS top quote for the day was 50 head of steers weighed 712 at $206 1/4. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.